Hey Cake Chums, and welcome back to another video. First of all, let me apologise that we didn't have a video last week. Unfortunately, I was struck down with viral plague, which basically meant I was no use to anyone and had no voice at all. So rather than try and struggle through a video, I decided to take it easy and have a week off. Fortunately, I'm feeling a lot better, and what perfect timing that is, because June is Pride Month, and all this month I'm going to be celebrating everything LGBTQIA+, with a whole host of fun projects, recipes and other things that you can do to make your Pride perfect, whether you're celebrating at home with your friends or even celebrating a special rainbow themed wedding. I thought I'd kick things off this week by showing you how to make some super fun and colourful rainbow no-spread sugar cookies. And the best part is that they're vegan too, so nobody needs to miss out on a tasty treat. So without much further ado, let's get to the video. Okay, so to make my vegan Pride themed rainbow sugar cookies, I need to think of a shorter name for them. You are going to need these ingredients. 250 grams of a plant-based butter substitute. I absolutely love the Flora plant butter. I'm not sponsored in any way. I've just had some really great results when baking with this, so highly recommend it. 180 grams of granulated sugar. That's the sugar you normally put in your tea, so slightly bigger grains than caster sugar. 80 millilitres of almond milk. You could try using a different plant-based milk. I just always have almond milk in the house because it's what I drink. So, oh, and I'm using unsweetened almond milk. 1 tablespoon of vanilla bean paste, although I've actually run out, so I'm using vanilla extract, but I prefer vanilla bean paste if I have it. 2 tablespoons of baking powder and 500 grams of plain flour. So that's plain flour or all-purpose flour if you are not in the UK. Finally, you're going to need some gel-based food colorings, and I highly recommend using gels. You just won't get the same depth of color from a liquid-based food coloring, and plus with the amount of liquid you would have to add, you'll end up changing the consistency of your biscuit mix. So I use Rainbow Dust ProGels, which you can see on the wall behind me, but any kind of gel-based food coloring should be absolutely fine. Okay, so it's quite a warm day today, so I'm not going to bother chopping up my plant butter or anything like that. I'm literally just going to throw it into the bowl of my stand mixer with my granulated sugar. And then I'm going to use the paddle attachment of my stand mixer, and I've got quite a cool creaming beater here with flexible sides. And I'm just going to cream together the butter and the sugar until it's nice, smooth, light and creamy. Of course, if you don't have a stand mixer, you can just do this in a large bowl with a wooden spoon, but if you do have a stand mixer, why wouldn't you use it? Once your mixture is really smooth, creamy and combined and looks something like this, we're going to go in with our wet ingredients, and that is our almond milk and our vanilla bean paste, or as I said in this case, vanilla extract. Pop your bowl back onto the stand mixer and continue to mix again until it's nice and smooth. Don't panic if it looks like your mixer is starting to separate or curdle. That does tend to happen with this recipe, I don't know why, but once we add in our dry ingredients it will all come back together anyway, so it's fine. Okay, and then once that is all mixed together, I'm going to pull the bowl off one more time, and I'm going to start to sift in my dry ingredients. I tend to do this in a couple of stages rather than throwing them all in one go, just because I find it gives me a better blend. So I've popped the baking powder in with the flour, and then I'm just going to sift this into the bowl. So that's probably about half of it there. Bowl back on the stand mixer, lid down, and then starting on a low speed so I don't end up wearing most of that flour, we're going to begin to mix it in again. and then in with the rest of the flour. Don't forget to give the beater a scrape as well, just to make sure that all of those ingredients are fully combined. You might want to just make sure you're going around the side of the bowl a couple of times as well, just to make sure that you've got no little pockets of butter or flour hiding away anywhere. And back on the mixer one last time, just to get everything nice, smooth and combined. Once you've done that, you should end up with a fairly loose dough. It's starting to kind of get to the point where I can squeeze it together, but it's still quite soft and sticky. This is the point where we're going to start to colour our dough, ready to make the 6 colours that we need for the pride flag. And so to work out how much we're going to need for each of the 6 colours, I need to weigh the total amount of biscuit dough that I've made. So bring in your weighing scales and another bowl, and we're literally just going to scoop that biscuit mixture into that second bowl. I've got about 996 grams of biscuit dough here, which divided by 6 is 166 grams. So I'm now going to split this equally into 6 bowls. Once you've done that, it's time to add your gel colours to each of the bowls. So 1 red, 1 orange, 1 yellow, 1 green, 1 blue and 1 purple. And I'm going to start out with about a 1/4 teaspoon of each of the gel colours and see what sort of depth of colour I end up with. We want enough colour to give us a kind of a nice deep shade, but not so much though that we start to affect the consistency of the biscuit mix. And plus, too much gel colour can actually make your bake taste rather unpleasant. There are also guidelines as to the amount of food colour additives you're allowed to add to food products, which is only really an issue for you if you are making these to sell, but it's still good to keep in mind that too much colour isn't good for you anyway. So I'm starting out with the Rainbow Dust ProGel in red. Orange, then yellow, green, blue and purple. And then using a normal spoon, I'm going to combine those together. Once you finish mixing through your colour, the next thing we're going to do is pop each of them into a separate piece of cling film so that we can place them in the fridge to rest. What we want to happen now that we've mixed it all together and added that colour and really worked it a lot, is we want it to have a chance to recover and kind of stiffen up slightly. Otherwise it's going to be absolutely impossible to roll it out and cut biscuits that won't spread when they're in the oven. So I'm going to start by taking a piece of cling film, take the first of those biscuit doughs, just kind of flatten it down slightly because that will help it to chill down quicker. Place it on the cling film and then fold it over one way, the other way, and then to the back. Now, one kind of extra step I like to do is I fold my cling film into a rough square, and then I'll grab my rolling pin and just roll it out even flatter, just because again, it will help it chill down quicker while it's in the fridge. So there's my red, and I'm now going to do that for all of the other colours as well. And once you've got all 6 of your mixes wrapped up tightly in cling film, it's time to pop them into the fridge for about an hour or so to give them that resting time, and then we'll carry on with the next step. So I guess I'll see you in an hour. So after about an hour, you should find that your biscuits have gone nice and stiff, which means that you are now ready to roll them out and make your pride themed cookies. So what we're going to do now is unwrap each of our colours, and I'm going to start with just around about half of each one. So there's my red. I'm going to give it a quick squidge to make it a bit softer, and then I'm going to use a tiny bit of that plain flour on my work surface, and I'm just going to roll out that cookie to around about 3 to 4 millimeters thick. I actually have some rolling guides that I find quite useful for doing things like this. If you don't have any, just kind of gauge it by eye. I'm then going to pop that to one side and do exactly the same thing with all of the other colours as well. And then when you've rolled out all of your different colours, so you can see here I've got my red, orange, yellow, green, blue and purple. I'm going to use a ribbon cutter to cut 1 centimetre wide strips of each of those colours. Now again, if you don't have a ribbon cutter, it's not the end of the world. You can just use a sharp knife and a ruler. This just means that I keep everything nice and neat. I'm going to cut a strip of the red. You kind of want to work quite quickly because the cookie dough will start to soften up quite quickly. So there's my red. My orange. You can probably guess what I'm going to be doing next. Yellow. And then once you get to this stage, it is simply just a case of smushing them together. That's the technical term, smushing. Now you don't have to be this precise with them. If you want to, you can literally just roll some sausages of the different colours, push them together and then roll them out. All this does is make sure that you get a fairly even distribution of each of those colours into your biscuits. So it's really up to you how precise you want them to be, or whether you're happy to just have all of those colours there. Once they are effectively smushed, as we were saying, what you're going to do is grab your chosen cookie cutter. So whether that's a heart shape, a star shape, a traditional round shape, or anything that you fancy, and you're just going to cut out cookies, making sure that you include each of those colours. So starting with the red and ending with the purple. You then want to place those onto a grease-proof paper lined baking sheet, like this, and repeat until you've used up all of your cookie dough. And then, what will probably feel like a million years later, you should end up with your rainbow cookies and a lot of cut-offs. Now, unfortunately, that can't really be avoided. But what I tend to do with my leftovers is I'll just smush them together in one kind of big, it's not really a ball, is it? But pile, and then I'll roll it out one more time, and then I'll just use this to make more of a kind of a crazy tie-dye effect, and these will be like my extra ones. Literally just smushing them all together, rolling them out, and then cutting them out as they are. And that will be what I'll do with kind of all this leftover cookie dough. Now, one thing I will say is I've never made them on a really hot day like today, and I found that my cookie dough was getting really, really soft. So what I would recommend is just make use of your fridge, you know. So perhaps once you've rolled out your colours, put it back in the fridge, let it stiffen up again. Cut your strips, put it back in the fridge. Don't try and do what I did, where I did it all in one go, because it's taken forever and it was messy. But yes, so that's what I would recommend. Take your time, use the fridge as much as you can. And actually on that note, what we're going to do once we get to this stage is pop these in the fridge while we preheat the oven. Now you want to cook your Pride cookies at 180 degrees C or 160 degrees fan, which I believe is gas mark 4. And they shouldn't take much more than about 12 to 15 minutes. You're looking for a very faint kind of browning around the edge, although you might not notice that on some of the darker colours. And when you take them out of the oven, they will still feel very soft on the top. Leave them on the tray to cool down completely, and you'll find that they'll continue to cook for a few minutes after coming out, and they'll stiffen up and go nice and firm once they're fully cooled down. So I'm going to go and pop mine in the oven. I'm going to have a mega tidy up, and I'll see you guys in a little while, hopefully with some finished cookies. See you in a bit. And through the power of editing, as always, just a little while later, there are my rainbow Pride themed vegan sugar cookies. Now of course you can enjoy these exactly as they are, which I'm going to do in just a moment, or you could also try decorating them using either royal icing, sugar paste, whatever takes your fancy really. But for now, as I say, I'm going to leave mine as they are and let that rainbow pattern really shine in all its glory. And of course, the most important part, giving them a taste. Sugar cookies are just such a simple classic, aren't they? I really just think you can't go wrong with them. And as I mentioned earlier on, they make such fantastic kind of party favours or even wedding favours. Just a little disc of sugar paste with a name embossed in, and you have the perfect wedding favour that also doubles up as like a place card as well. Super fun, reasonably easy, so long as you don't try and do it in a really hot room like I did all in one go. I think you'll agree they come out absolutely amazingly. I do hope you enjoyed finding out how to make my, oh gosh, I've got to say it again, vegan pride themed rainbow sugar cookies. And of course, if you did, please do make sure you give this video a thumbs up. And if it's your first time visiting Mr. Baker's Cakes here on YouTube, don't forget to hit that big red subscribe button before you go. If you are already subscribed, you can also click on the bell icon to make sure you get a push notification every time I upload a new video. I'll be back at the same time next week with another video, but until then, look after yourselves. And of course, happy baking.